Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Let us examine what seems to be a very fresh scene of the crime. So let's talk to Inspector first. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he?
Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. As you can see, as you could probably tell, he was an actor. A bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead.
Mr. Shakespeare.
It was the landlord, old Mr. Garadeb, and the lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fella didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garadeb got worried and kicked down the door.
That old man kicked down the door. Man. But yeah, but doesn't Mr. Garadeb have a bad leg?
Oh yeah, you're right there. It was just that jittery Japanese hunch over there who actually did the kicking.
Really? Sasaki-san?
The victim was pretty hard up, it seems, even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it.
So what exactly is Mr. Natsume doing here? He's not involved in this investigation, so shouldn't he have been sent away for the crime scene?
Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious, but I thought it would be prudent to take the statements from the culpator.
You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear, Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man, how unfortunate.
Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella has been a goner that long. The body's still warm.
Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Let's talk to Miss Natsume now.
Oh, I said hands off. You're gonna get messed of the crime scene.
Oh, no, I just wanted to look at that.
Oh, no chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it.
Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, sounds like I better talk to the inspector first to try and curry some favor out. What did I click on? Oh, his little stage is what I clicked on. I wanted to talk to Mr. Natsume. But terrible things have happened.
It's only 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences.
So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just 1 story up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose.
Oh, I thought he lived in the basement for some reason. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? He doesn't want to say. What's the matter with Sasaki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But he did it. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never. On my honor, I swear it.
What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruto?
When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking for you to come. Through that inspector over there.
Oh, he's at the crime scene, it seems. What a magnificent pose this man is doing. Let me see. Is there anything else in the room of interest? Yeah, he's not gonna let me touch any part of the crime scene, it seems. Oh, yeah, so I guess we just have to talk to Sholmes. Nope, never mind. I actually clicked on something else. Hey, don't be so angry. You know, staring at his chips, I kind of want to make myself some. There we go. No, he has a gun on him. Mrs. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ah, you only need to observe to know, my dear fellow. Investigating naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in the room for 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. That sounds like you've figured out everything. My goodness. But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose that idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I've managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there were a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. So he has been in this room. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somewhere? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! He's so jittery. Gosh, look at those teeth jeering out. Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please. Pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions presented for you for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtains rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Oh, I like how his little, what do we call those things? Changes his outfit as well. The cause of death. His outfit changes in the flash. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam of the mount of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Is he eating soap? Could it be that the victim was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against the hunger was in vain, for in the end, he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plates. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Poisoning from ingestion. Alright, what's the next topic? Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified with, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the question. Was it suicide or murder? The audience will recall the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine or dine alone? Dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. Draw a conclusion on mere agreed evidence would be foolish, however. Certainly, the careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Oh gosh, he is shaking. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is this broken lock. Though forced open now at the time of the incident, this door was locked. The sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone with his inferior soap from whence wafted an inferior scent. With the acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. Oh, well, you know, that's very convenient for Mr. Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Ryunosuke's great deduction. Like how everyone's just watching. I am... Oh my gosh, do you see that? He like magically makes more appear. And shake. Ever-growing chips. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You're disposed of its entity, just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruto? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It's quite apparent that the man had barely a penny to his name. It's a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. Oh, extraordinary. In truth, I've tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my guts. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Couldn't help notice him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched the nerves. Nonsense! Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the Grand Detective's deduction may need gentle correction in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observation and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the keywords in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deduction, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtains rise. For Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular Act 1. Alright, well, we're doing it once again, but this time we're gonna correct it. I wonder what new mechanics they added in this one, because it can't be the exact same game. Alright, let's see. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in the disconsolation room last night. Foam at the mouth to seize clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, one half of a sizable bar of soap, meaningful indubitably. Why is the soap so purposely upon the dish, like the victim's last supper? Yes. Sorry, I'm like speed reading this because we went through this once. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that the fork implies that the man is eating something or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat soap, I should prefer to use a fork than attempt to eat it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate the soap. Alright, I like this part where we can look around to see what else it could be. Because there's another bar of soap down here. But is there really just that? Let me see. Anything else we can examine? Let's look at the teacup. Do you think he was drinking this with the blah 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 cup tea blah blah? The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. How about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he can gulp down as much as possible. I Please remember that he may not actually have been a soap lover that he has made out to be. So sad. Oh, I see something in the very corner. Oh, wait, that's just his hat. That's part of his hat. Let's see if we can go zoom down over here. Look, there's another piece, more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamsu really must have loved this stuff. Let's not jump to the conclusion, Mr. Naruto. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with that bar of soap over there? What the hell can that be? I think that there are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. I suppose you eat soap with a fork, would you? I don't think it's the question of which implement you use. You shouldn't eat soap. But then why? Why does the man have a fork in his hand? Oh dear, I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruto. Please don't take it out on me. The point is, if we decide the man used this fork to eat the soap, we wouldn't be changing Mr. Shom's deduction. So we really ought to consider some other clues. Let's see, could this be what the man was about to eat with a fork? Well, I don't think he was going to eat that. Is there any way I can look around more? See if there is anything else that I don't see. Maybe he wasn't trying to eat it, or maybe just use it to tear it in half. I don't know. Let's present. Let's see what happens. Oh yes, I forgot we had the change of outfit. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Or of course, the other piece on the soap reveals it being the other half of soap on the table, and sure, the victim was not eating the soap at all. But obvious really, for no depths of hunger could drive a man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruto, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. But the London foul soap is the besmirched of the foulest poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by the poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Shom is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poison, I don't think we want to be washing our hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Let's see. Is there anything I can look around here? Let's see if we can get a different angle. Let's just look at this for a moment. The contents of the plate is just the soap again, isn't it? Well, you know, there's a saying in Japanese, don't you? Nope. I'm so off in reading today. If your food is poison, you might as well eat the plate and all. Well, there's an image. All I can picture now is the victim taking the bite out of the soap and then the plate. Soap like some tofu and the plate like a giant rice cracker. Oh dear, that sounds like a very bland combination. Is there something underneath him that we can see? Something that we just aren't quite seeing. Sure, I guess we're gonna look at the fork again. If the victim didn't eat the soap, then what did he eat? Yes, it's a real mystery, isn't it? Got it. He wasn't interested in eating the soap at all. It was the fork he wanted to satisfy his hunger with. Mr. Naruto, I really don't think it's helpful to continue with this line of reasoning that the gentleman had particular taste. Mr. Sasotans has such a gentle way with words, but I know what I've been told of. I can't really see. Let's see. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of... maybe the poison tainted the cup? Yes, a Western vessel for serving of infusions of dry tea leaves. It's a teacup, Miss Naruto. As well as you well know, stop putting on affairs, blah blah. I'm really often reading today. And it's empty. So we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly. Maybe let's present the
Take
teacup.
that!
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, the cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. It would appear that the victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in this room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Alright, was there one more thing after this? Figure out. Oh wait, topic 2, that's right. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? Dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again is already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsumi's reaction when he heard Mr. Shom suggest it. There's more to the deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for more clues. Oh wait, there's another cup here. How does no one notice the second cup? It's another Western... It's a teacup! It's too empty. Given that he was actually holding this... I'm sorry, that's so funny. He was about to say another Western device holding for dry leaves. I just saw to just yells, it's a teacup. Given that he already holding it in one hand, we can assume that this is the cup from which Shamsu was actually drinking. How did no one notice this? But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced to now is turned up on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. It's almost I don't want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you're feeling.
Take that!
Did the man dine and dine alone? The other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night taking tea with the victim.
What are you talking about? Utterly unbelievable, unjustly unreasonable.
To draw a conclusion on such a meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed, what will reveal the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the Hylocontes of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try and ignore your feelings about but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruto. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. Alright, use an empty bottle. Let's see. It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. Bother. Sasato's quip in response was cleverer than my original riddle. Let's see, some books here. First glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and costume. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read Picture of the Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gaboria. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. And now those 3 titles here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean? What do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Well, I know what to present, but we're gonna have to stop this part here. Oh no, we can't, because I can't save. So I'm forced to keep going. Alright, we'll just keep going. We'll try and see if we can finish this, and then end the part. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so, it's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room, the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a secondhand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, will you be able to bring the same 3 titles of your own, will you not? This very moment. No, never, not negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here on the victim's room. Oh yes, look at this fantastic dance. I feel like they really outdone themselves here. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there is only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor... was you, Mr. Sasaki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Alright, there we go. We finally lit it up, and I don't like that we kind of incriminated him. This is probably how he felt last time. Deduction complete. Elementary. Alright, well, I think this is where we're going to end this part here now, for sure. So, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Until then, I will see you all later. Goodbye.